$7 a gallon gas, that's what a Harvard study shows. That's what happened in Europe with the carbon tax. That's what's going to happen if Obama is able to implement his carbon tax. Meanwhile, Obama plans to sneak through carbon tax by stealth. That's the prisonplanet.com article. And the only way he's doing it by stealth is the mainstream media won't really report what's in the Lieberman-Kerry bill. It is a version of the House bill that passed last year. And it does give a blank check power to the EPA to carry out their carbon taxes. In the middle of this emergency, the answer is tax the American people, but don't worry, the gallant little Nobel Prize-winning genius that 50 days ago, Obama, 50-plus days ago, early in the oil spill, dispatched down there. Did the gallant little genius fix everything? Remember, Henry Kissinger's a Nobel Prize winner for peace. What a sick joke. How about Israel give Hitler an award? It's about the same thing. Or let's give an anti-communist award to Joe Stalin posthumously. I mean, it's that stupid. Remember, Al Gore, Mr. Fraud, was given one. I mean, it's a disgrace to be given a Nobel Prize. But don't worry, all the Nobel Prize winners and all Barry Soetoro's men couldn't put their global warming stinking fraud back together again. Look, it's all coming up. Stay with us. Jam-packed, key transmission. We're winning and losing on every front. All right, a former member, high-level member of MI6, who really trailblazed right up there with Jim Tucker and others, documenting the true power structure of the New World Order system, the Anglo-American Committee of 300, that goes back to the black nobility of Italy and the city-states that have really developed the modern imperial system that we live under. He will be joining us coming up in the last hour today. When I open the phones up at the bottom of the hour, you're welcome to call in about any issue you want. The fact that the UN has already passed sanctions and is set to pass more draconian sanctions to begin boarding all naval vessels bound for Iran or leaving Iran and not allowing refined gasoline to come in, not allowing metal to come in, not allowing a list of literally thousands of things to come into Iran, which is an act of war under national law, international law. Congressman Ron Paul, of course, has pointed that out in several House floor speeches that we've posted at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that we've also played here on air. This is serious. Israel is openly saying they may nuke preemptively Iran at any time. Israel is also saying that they want the U.S. to support them in a bombardment. And the word from Bilderberg Group is that they are now green-lighting an attack on Iran. That is, Bilderberg has given the nod, the majority of them. And so that is moving into play right now. And other analysts we have on, like Ray McGovern, top CIA analyst to Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr., agree it's becoming more and more green-lighted. Webster Tarpley, Dr. Tarpley agrees. Just every expert we talk to, and of course my own historical breakdown and analysis, can clearly see that war with Iran has moved from the back burner to the front burner big time. Big time. And now you have this provocation. While we're busy looking at the Gulf oil spill, which is very important, but compared to an attack on the nation of Iran, almost 70 million people with high-tech weapon systems that haven't been under a decade plus of crippling sanctions, an attack on Iran will lead, bare minimum, to a major regional escalation and conflict in massive casualties by Shiite-backed forces attacking U.S. forces inside Iraq, U.S. ships being attacked in the Gulf, Black Ops squads being activated in the West to carry out real terror attacks. This is not going to be pretty. Russia and China saying they may weigh in. China even more so on record than Russia, weigh in with some type of counterattack or sanctions on the United States. The Iranians have said they will sink ships in the Strait of Hormuz. They will block it. It would take weeks to remove them if the engineer ships that the U.S. will send in and NATO will send in and Israel will try to send in, even if you didn't have Iranian special forces from the cliffs above firing missiles, firing artillery at them, it would take bare minimum weeks to dredge out and remove sunken barges and ships. Now, when they're being attacked, you can forget it being removed. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what's going to happen to oil prices if they block the Strait of Hormuz? Well, the conservative analysts say $6 to $7 a gallon gas in the United States, an equivalent of 12 to 14 euros a gallon, as they do it in liters, over in the European Union and Britannia. So Albion, UK, whatever you want to call it. The point is that this is not good, but it's good for the globalists who've stolen tens of trillions and are setting up a police state and are openly establishing a new bank of the world that we will all pay our carbon taxes to. The only way they're going to get all this rammed through is a war. That's what the Rand Corporation called for almost 3 years ago. Go read Paul Watson's articles about it. It's all over the foreign European and Chinese and Russian news, not in the news here in the United States. Game on, ladies and gentlemen, for an attack. So what else? What else is going on that is a distraction? What is the oil spill really serving for? Well, it's serving as a crisis to get the government takeover of our existing energy systems. The globalists have already shut off our industry. They've already raised our taxes. They've already bankrupted the states. All part of the stated Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, private Federal Reserve plan. We're going into indentured servitude. We're going into economic bondage. They've already destroyed us economically with NAFTA and GATT and globalism. And so now they've already seized the automakers. They've already are moving in with federal zoning, federal land grabs, federal takeover of communications, and the Internet is all over the news, being announced as if it's no big deal. So all of this is happening. You've got Obama set and telling the U.S. ambassador to accept the UN ratification, and he's saying he'll implement it through the bureaucracy, through the Justice Department, even if the Senate won't ratify it officially, for a total small arms ban worldwide, including the U.S. That is openly going on. We have the Blagojevich trial with a gag order. They're moving for a gag order to block him because he came out 2 days ago and said, look, these payoffs lead back to Obama and Rahm Emanuel and Axelrod. I'm being set up. This is standard operating procedure in Chicago. And we know Obama gets his houses paid for. Rahm Emanuel gets them paid for by Goldman Sachs, BP, on record. Nobody gets in trouble. So this oil thing's a distraction from that. It's a distraction from the economic meltdown, the joblessness. It's a distraction from Obama's falling approval ratings. It's a distraction for all the other legislation happening, or how the big banks have gotten legislation through to actually shut down their competition. Now they're gobbling up banks everywhere, or how the U.S. is on the verge of losing its credit rating. So I've got Steve Watson and Paul Watson in consultation with myself writing a big article coming out in the next hour and a half at prisonplanet.com. And the headline, it hasn't been written yet, but it'll be something like, the 10 big things the BP oil spill is distracting the people from, or the 10 things the BP oil spill is being used to distract the public from. Remember how right after 9/11, all sorts of tyrannical things got put in place while we weren't watching? Well, I was watching. Many of you were watching, but the general public wasn't. This is a big deal. Now, separately, I want to take your calls, not just on the 10 or 15 or 20. What do you see this serving as a distraction from? The fact that they're on the verge of passing legislation that expands on the Enemy Combatant Act that already allows them to grab U.S. citizens and say, take them away secretly into a torture dungeon. They've actually got legislation that's passed the House and the Senate to allow open torture of citizens, open secret arrests, and only an act of Congress can find out even where you are. I mean, this is bona fide hardcore tyranny. But not only are there all these distractions, I mean, I say 10, there's a lot more than 10. Their whole agenda is being rammed down right now. Oh, yeah, the Gulf oil spill's bad, but what about trillions in taxes they want you to pay? What about all the new taxes the feds are levying? What about the fact that health care was political suicide for the elite? But they don't care because they know they've got a war they're brewing, an oil spill distractions. What about the fact that the TARP was really a swindle to all of the criminal insiders that put Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, into power? Everything is moving right now. They're going for broke. Ahead of this election coming up, they know in every election, incumbents, whether they're Republican or Democrat, in all the off-year elections we've had this year and last year, every incumbent's been thrown out. This is a total political realignment, and the system knows it.